There is a garden bed in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, that has not been touched by a tiller in over 4 decades. No machine has ever turned that soil. No chemical weed killer has ever been sprayed on it. And yet the dirt is so dark, so soft, so perfectly crumbled. It looks like something you could eat. The weeds are almost non-existent. Now compare that to what happens in most backyards across this country every single spring. The crabgrass returns. The dandelions come back stronger than last year. The thistles push through no matter how many bottles of herbicide get emptied onto them. Saturday mornings disappear into pulling, spraying, aching, and losing the same fight all over again. The global weed killer industry pulls in over $34 billion a year. That number grows by about 5% every season. And that is not an accident. It is a business model designed to manage the weed problem, just enough to keep you buying, but never enough to actually solve it. Meanwhile, in Amish country, tens of thousands of growers have quietly walked away from that entire system. They produce more food with fewer weeds and 0 commercial herbicides. Their approach is not complicated. It is not expensive. It is so simple, in fact, that the modern gardening industry has almost no financial reason to tell you about it. They call it the no-till forever method. And the research coming out of major agricultural universities now confirms what these traditional growers have known for generations. Here is exactly how it works, step by step, and how anyone with a backyard can begin using it before this season ends. The first thing to understand is why tilling is the real enemy. Every spring, millions of gardeners drag out the rototiller, churn up the dirt, and admire how clean and fluffy the bed looks afterward. It feels like a fresh start. It is actually the single biggest reason the weeds keep winning. Researchers at Michigan State University discovered something remarkable hiding beneath every garden in the country. A single square foot of ordinary soil can hold anywhere from 56 to nearly 15,000 dormant weed seeds. That is 15,000 seeds packed into a space no bigger than a dinner plate, all sitting in the dark, all waiting. Scientists call this the weed seed bank. One common lamb's quarters plant can drop over 72,000 seeds in a single growing season. These seeds are extraordinarily patient. Many of those seeds stay alive underground for 5, 10, even 20 years. Velvet leaf seeds have been documented sprouting after decades of sitting in total darkness. All they need to wake up is a little moisture and one brief flash of sunlight. Every time a tiller blade cuts through the ground, it reaches into that dark vault and drags seeds up to the surface. It hands them the exact conditions they have been waiting for. The gardener thinks the bed is clean. The bed is actually loaded with a fresh generation of weeds that will erupt within days. But the damage goes deeper than seeds. Soil biologist Dr. Elaine Ingham spent years mapping what she calls the soil food web, a massive underground network of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and microorganisms that keeps healthy dirt alive. Imagine an entire city beneath your feet, with roads, delivery systems, and communication lines running between plant roots. When a tiller rips through that city, it levels everything. The worst casualties are microscopic fungal networks called arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. These threads attach directly to roots and help plants pull water and minerals from depths they could never reach alone. Think of them as the plumbing system of the soil. Destroy the plumbing, and the plants go thirsty even when water is sitting inches away. These fungi also produce a natural glue called glomalin that binds soil particles into soft, spongy clumps that hold both air and moisture. Kill the fungi. Lose the glomalin. By midsummer, that bed that looked so promising in April has baked into cracked, rock-hard clay that sheds water like a parking lot. The Amish solution starts with one decision: put the tiller away and never bring it back. Let the buried seeds stay buried in the dark where they cannot germinate. Let the fungal networks rebuild. Let the soil do what healthy soil was always designed to do: when people simply stop destroying it every spring. But if the tiller is gone, how does a new garden bed actually get built? How do existing weeds get controlled without machines, without chemicals, or without hours of backbreaking labor? The answer is something most households toss into the recycling bin every week. Walk into any undisturbed forest and look at the ground. It is never bare. Fallen leaves, decaying bark, rotting twigs, and plant debris form a thick, continuous blanket over everything. That blanket smothers weed seedlings before they get started. It feeds the microbes underneath, and it traps moisture so the soil never fully dries out. Nature perfected this system millions of years before gardening existed. The Amish simply copy it using plain brown corrugated cardboard. The process is almost absurdly simple. First, mow or cut the existing vegetation as low to the ground as possible. Do not waste time pulling weeds or ripping out grass. Then soak the area with water. This is not just for moisture. It wakes up the soil biology and signals to earthworms that something is about to happen on the surface. Next, lay down overlapping sheets of brown corrugated cardboard with all tape, stickers, and glossy printing removed. Here is the detail that separates success from frustration. Every edge must overlap by at least 4 to 6 inches. Weeds are relentless opportunists. If a single crack of light sneaks through between 2 sheets, they will find it and push through within days. Cardboard does 2 things that plastic landscape fabric never can. It blocks 100% of the sunlight reaching the soil, instantly shutting down the entire weed seed bank below. Without that trigger of light, existing weeds die in the dark, and all those thousands of buried seeds stay dormant. As the cardboard sits in the damp darkness, it becomes an irresistible food source for earthworms. The decaying cellulose draws them up from below like a dinner bell. They tunnel through compacted dirt, aerating it for free, and leave behind worm castings, one of the most nutrient-dense natural fertilizers on the planet. Over 4 to 6 months, the cardboard breaks down completely and disappears into the earth right when it is no longer needed. Plastic fabric, by contrast, stays forever, slowly suffocating the soil beneath it, and eventually shredding into ragged strips that have to be torn out by hand. To finish the system, the cardboard is covered with organic layers. 2 to 4 inches of nitrogen-rich compost goes down first, followed by a protective top layer of carbon-rich mulch, straw, shredded autumn leaves, or wood chips. Soil scientist Christine Jones has demonstrated that this kind of diverse, layered organic covering protects soil biology through both drought and heavy rain, building a resilience that bare or chemically treated ground simply cannot match. And here is the part that surprises most people. You do not have to wait months for the cardboard to decompose before planting. Transplants can go in the same day. Just cut a small X through the cardboard, peel back the flaps, set the plant into the soil below, and fold the cardboard snugly around the stem. The result is striking. Strong, early growth and a dramatic drop in weeds from day one. If this is starting to change the way you think about your garden, take a second and share this with a friend who has been fighting weeds every spring. Drop a comment and let me know if you are ready to retire the tiller this year. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is the time, because the methods ahead are just as powerful as what you have already heard. The cardboard handles weeds from the top down. Unlocking the full growing power of each individual plant requires attention to what happens inside the planting hole. This is where even experienced gardeners make a costly mistake without realizing it. Many dedicated growers hit a frustrating plateau. The watering is consistent, the compost is generous, the plants look acceptable, but they refuse to truly take off. Leaves stay pale instead of deep green. Fruit is small and scarce. The nutrients are physically sitting in the soil, but the plants cannot reach them because the pH is out of balance. Imagine a pantry full of food with every cabinet padlocked shut. The groceries are right there, but the plant cannot open the doors. Traditional Amish growers fix this with 2 ingredients that cost nothing: spent coffee grounds and wood ash. Used incorrectly, this pairing does more harm than good. Coffee grounds are a genuinely valuable amendment. They add nitrogen, attract earthworms, and stimulate microbial life. However, repeated heavy use over time can gradually push soil pH downward into acidic territory. That slow drift locks up essential nutrients, especially calcium and phosphorus, exactly when plants need them most. The traditional counterbalance comes from the fireplace. Pure hardwood ash, never ash from charcoal briquettes, painted wood, or pressure-treated lumber. Clean hardwood ash is a concentrated source of potassium, calcium, and magnesium, the exact minerals tomatoes and peppers need for strong cell walls and heavy fruit production. Now here is where most gardeners go wrong. The obvious instinct is to toss a scoop of dry ash directly into the planting hole alongside the coffee grounds. But wood ash is highly alkaline. When dry ash meets the nitrogen in coffee grounds, a reaction occurs. The alkalinity converts the nitrogen into ammonia gas that escapes into the air before the plant can use any of it. On top of that, the sudden pH spike can scorch young roots on contact. The traditional workaround is elegant. Instead of using dry ash, dissolve 2 tablespoons of hardwood ash into a liter of water and let it sit overnight. By morning, the minerals have dissolved into a cloudy, milky liquid that is still potent but safely diluted. At planting time, a generous handful of spent coffee grounds goes loosely into the bottom of the hole. Then a 1/4 cup of the ash liquid is poured gently over the top. The dissolved alkaline minerals neutralize the acidity of the coffee gradually and evenly, without any destructive spike. The pH settles into the range where nutrients unlock and become available. When a transplant goes into that prepared hole, its roots immediately enter a biologically active, balanced pocket of soil. The nitrogen from the coffee is ready instantly. The calcium from the ash begins building stronger stems. Gardeners who use this method consistently see noticeably deeper green foliage and more vigorous growth by the 3rd week. Now, what about the long months between growing seasons when the garden sits empty and exposed? Bare soil is an open invitation. Nature rushes to cover any exposed ground with whatever grows fastest. And in most gardens, that means weeds. So experienced Amish growers never leave their beds uncovered through winter. At the end of the summer harvest, they scatter seed for a specific cover crop called cereal rye. Researchers at Cornell University and Penn State have extensively documented a biological phenomenon called allelopathy. As cereal rye grows, even through freezing temperatures, it quietly manufactures chemical compounds called benzoxazenones in its roots and leaves. When the rye residue begins to decompose in early spring, those compounds release directly into the surrounding soil. The effect on weeds is devastating. University studies show that cereal rye residue can suppress the germination of common garden invaders, like pigweed, crabgrass, and lamb squirters, by up to 95% for 30 to 60 days. That is near total weed suppression achieved entirely through the plant's own natural chemistry, without a single application of anything from a bottle. About 3 to 4 weeks before spring planting, the rye gets cut at the base and left lying flat on the soil surface like a thick golden blanket. No tilling. The fungal networks below stay intact. That mat of rye residue blocks sunlight from reaching weed seeds, conserves up to 30% of the soil's moisture, and continues releasing its natural weed-suppressing chemistry as it slowly decomposes. Transplants go right through it, push through small openings cut in the mat. Cereal rye seed is widely available at farm supply stores and online retailers, often sold in bulk for just a few dollars a pound. A light scattering across the bed in early to mid-fall, about 4 to 6 weeks before the first hard frost, is all it takes. The rye sprouts quickly, grows through winter without any care, suppresses weeds through spring, and feeds the soil as it breaks down. One simple fall planting replaces months of weeding the following year. Cereal rye handles the big picture, but what about the thousands of tiny weed seeds still sitting right on the soil surface, waiting for their chance? For those, the Amish have one more strategy, and it is almost deviously clever. It is called the stale seed bed, and it works exactly like a trap. The garden bed gets prepared just as if planting day had arrived. It is raked smooth, watered deeply, the surface looking perfect and ready. Then nothing happens. No seeds go in. The gardener walks away and waits. Within 1 week to 10 days, thousands of dormant weed seeds near the surface sense the moisture and the light. They sprout eagerly, tiny green threads pushing up through the dirt, confident their moment has arrived. And that is when the trap closes. Just as those seedlings emerge, barely visible, with almost no root system, a sharp hoe lightly scrapes across the top half-inch of soil. 5 minutes of gentle, shallow work wipes out an entire generation of weeds before a single one can grow large enough to drop seed. The key is timing. Catch them while they are thread thin, and they come out with almost no effort. Wait too long and they dig in. The scraping must also stay shallow. Going too deep just brings up more buried seeds and restarts the cycle. Repeating this process twice before planting can reduce weed emergence in that bed by 50 to 70% for the rest of the growing season. For the open spaces between tall crops like corn, tomatoes, and pole beans, Amish growers add one final layer of defense: a living ground cover. The most common choice is white Dutch clover, sown directly between rows once the main crops are tall enough not to be crowded out. This low-growing clover forms a dense carpet that physically blocks weeds from colonizing bare soil. It pulls free nitrogen from the atmosphere through bacteria in its root nodules and delivers it directly into the surrounding dirt, feeding neighboring crops without a single bag of fertilizer. Its white blossoms attract pollinating insects by the hundreds throughout the growing season, dramatically increasing fruit set on nearby tomatoes, squash, and peppers. And perhaps the most remarkable benefit happens after dark. Researchers at Cornell University found that common ground beetles, small, hard-shelled, nocturnal predators that thrive in the shelter of cover crops and mulch, emerge at night and consume up to 65% of weed seeds resting on the soil surface. While the gardener sleeps, a quiet army of allies patrols the rows and eats the next generation of weeds before they ever get a chance to sprout. When the tiller gets retired and the cardboard goes down, when coffee grounds and ash replace store-bought products, when cereal, rye, and clover and earthworms and ground beetles are allowed to do the work they were always meant to do, gardening stops being a war. It becomes a partnership. A quiet conversation between the grower and the ground, where both sides finally understand each other. The Amish understood this for generations. They watched, they listened to the soil instead of fighting it. And now modern science is confirming their wisdom, with hard data from respected universities. Every technique in this video works with nature instead of against it. Every single one is free. No special equipment, no annual trips to the chemical aisle, just observation, patience, and a willingness to let the soil do what it already knows how to do. It costs nothing. It saves aching backs and stiff knees. And it builds rich, dark, living soil that will outlast every gardener who tends it. Happy gardening!